Hello, hi, welcome back to my course on enhancing soft skills and personality. This is the 8th week and the 3rd unit, lesson number 38. And in this unit, let's focus on managing mind and memory. And before we start going to the concept, let's take a quick highlight of what I did in the last lesson. In the last lecture, we learnt about business etiquette, which refer to those mannerisms a professional is expected to follow in business and social situations. So, as I explained, a professional, somebody like an engineer or a doctor, is supposed to behave in a particular manner both in the professional area as well as in the social situation. And in that context, some significant norms for developing business etiquette were introduced, and they are as follows. In a business meeting or social gathering, introducing first the person who accompanies you is very important. Speaking in a common language, not chewing gum or eating something while participating in serious discussions, not interrupting a speaker, and if you have to interrupt, seeking permission, informing about your absence in meetings in advance, refusing to do anything unethical even if the pressure comes from higher authorities. In the long run, they will learn about your integrity and honesty, and initial days are the testing time, so you should refuse to do anything unethical. Not saying bad things about the previous company or the boss, even when you are not in your senses, even when you are drunk, or even when you have left the job, you are not supposed to say that. Talking to the point, especially in communication, and in a precise manner without any ambiguity, being courteous, polite and respectful all the time, avoiding intimate relationships with office colleague, praising people in public but criticizing them in private. So, if you have to reprimand, you have to call them in your office privately, and then not in the presence of anybody you need to share your critical comments, but if you have to praise, you can praise them in public. Having discussed all these things, I gave some interesting quotes which emphasized on the point that you need to keep acquiring these good manners and keep developing taste for them also. So, it is not like that one day, one night by watching one video you learn all of them. You need to observe, you need to learn, you need to educate yourself to develop those mannerisms, and then it will become an integral part of you, and slowly people will recognize you as a professional with excellent etiquette. So, with that thought, we concluded the previous one. Let us begin this lesson with an interesting aspect of the mind, the power of mind. According to John Milton, the mind is its own place and in itself can make a heaven of hell a hell of heaven. What did he mean by that? He meant that the mind, even if it stays in its own place, it need not go anywhere. In its own place, it can make a heaven of hell or hell of heaven. So, hell or heaven is not something outside the mind, it is inside the mind, and it has the capability to create a hell out of heaven or heaven out of hell. Similarly, Abraham Lincoln says, most folks are about as happy as they make up their minds to be. Now, these thoughts are similar, and they indicate that human mind is capable of creating happiness or sorrow on its own by its own capabilities. It is all in the mind, and correcting your mind, organizing your mind, channelizing it, and then extracting the power of your mind gives you power. If the mind is scattered, so the scattered mind yields to divergent thoughts and gets bogged down with fatigue soon. So, it gets scattered, it is getting chaotic, confused. So many things are available, so many options to do. So, then it feels fatigued very soon, it loses its energy. The organized mind, on the other hand, like sun rays converged into your lens, burns with unquenchable energy. So, that organized mind, when you organize all your thoughts and let it concentrate, focus on one activity that you have chosen at your hand, should be a very highly valuable task. Then you will become a better and happier person than what you are now. So, that is the secret of using your mind power to become successful. Now, if you ask, can I organize my mind all the time? Rather, you should understand first, mind is mercurial, very quickly changing, very dynamic, and you cannot control your thoughts all the time that easily. Too many thoughts overlap in our minds and they change in a fraction of a second owing to external stimuli which are processed through our five senses. For instance, let us say you are traveling in a very calm area where you are surrounded by scenic beauty, okay, and then you are on a train, and then the beauty itself is evoking you to write some poem. You are in a very poetic thought and then some nostalgic moments. So, you are completely immersed in very beautiful thoughts. Now, this moment which is felt by you with overwhelming beautiful thoughts can be changed quickly by some shocking thing found on the road. Let us say you find a jackal eating a dead body, or you see suddenly an accident, something that is horrifying and something that is striking your eyes, maybe the blood freshly oozing out of the body that was hit in the accident. Now, this thing in reality will just hit you, and then the thoughts that were coming as a flow will just go away. It will be distracted. So, every time, so through eyes you are getting, through ears some noise, some songs, through touch, okay, through all your sense organs, whatever you are receiving as inputs. So, they go and give a kind of eternal flow to your thoughts. So, it is very important that you need to organize and focus it in one direction, and you need to give that direction. So, that is the secret. It is not to let it flow freely, but to channelize it to think focused in one chosen direction. Now, the other interesting factor that you need to know is that psychiatrists agree that we only use about 10% of our mind efficiently and use 40% of our mind inefficiently by struggling to store trivial details, because mind is like your hard disk. So, the hard disk also has a storage space, and then whatever you put in your computer is getting stored. So, even if you put some unwanted information, that also gets stored, and just like the way your mind keeps storing, occupying space even when it is grasping, getting some information from gossips, rumors. Okay. So, the next time when you read a rumor, oh, that actress ran away with that director, so you need to actually ask, should I read these kind of things and let my mind register these kind of thoughts, because your space in the mind is at a premium, you cannot expand it, and then you are putting lot of trivial details by which you are occupying about 40% of your mind and making it become inefficient, and it is operating in 10% very actively, and there is another 50% of our mind which remains almost unused. Now, if you go by this thought, and if we understand that if we can achieve what we all have been doing so far only by 10% efficient use of our minds, imagine how much we can achieve if we can use our minds 100%. To do this, we need to cheat our minds, we need to hypnotize our minds using auto-suggestion. And to do this, again, you need not take any professional help. Okay. It is enough if you become a friend of yourself and then try to talk to your mind, and then you talk to the mind as a very trusted friend, and then you talk only when it is necessary, but you keep watching your thoughts and interfere at the right moment, appropriate time, to give direction and prevent your mind from going astray. For example, let's say you are a student and then you are going to another class which is a routine, and then as per the timetable it shows there will be about 48 classes like this and only about 21 have been completed. Now this is yet another class, and then there will be yet another and another in the coming. So the sheer monotony, how does it affect you? Is it affecting your thoughts and making you feel bored and then gather lot of negativity even before entering into that classroom? So watch your thoughts. When you are going to attend one of those regular class lectures, watch your thoughts. It could be any event. When you are going there, just watch your thoughts. They actually give direction to your mind. And take note of them, especially those last few minutes before you enter the classroom or auditorium or a meeting hall, before you attend that event. Now if the flow of the thoughts are overtly negative, such as the thoughts are coming to you like, oh, another boring lecture, I didn't prepare today also, how can I manage? What is the use of attending this lecture? Now these are negative thoughts coming, and then they will try to sap your energy even before attending the lecture. However, you can change those negative vibes if you inject positive thoughts as, today I will learn something new from this lecture, and today I will note some important points from this lecture. And then as soon as you go to the class, and then you take a quick look of the students and you tell yourself, students appear to be more enthusiastic today. Teacher looks thoroughly prepared today. Maybe it is their favorite topic. And then you tell yourself that I should take notes and focus on the concept. Now by telling these things in your mind, what you are doing is you are hypnotizing your mind to believe, accept that you can actually learn from this situation. Even in reality it might be boring or monotonous, but you are making your mind believe that you can really gain something from it, and once you make the mind believe, it will bring the best of the situation and it will make you get that heaven out of hell, even if you are supposed to be in that hell-like situation. Focusing on yourself and letting the mind think about your improvement is the key to self-development. Instead, many people let the mind focus on others' achievements instead of focusing on yourself and letting the mind think about your improvement. People let the mind look at others' achievement and then what they are doing all the time. So is he reading, is he preparing for the exam? Instead of looking at you, are you reading, are you preparing for the exam, are you thorough in your preparation, instead of checking what others are doing. Now in this way, what these people do is they often make comparisons with others and believe that they are less capable. So comparisons with others always will try to underestimate your capabilities. And this has been told before, you should keep in your mind, now that the course is reaching a conclusion stage, the only real competition is always with yourself, not with anybody else. And one has to use one's mind to push oneself from one level to another. So if you have done satisfactorily, excellently some job at one level, now don't be complacent, push yourself to the next level so that you bring the better in you. And it's all in the mind, and it's possible, you can always push yourself to one level ahead. And these mind games are the ones to be won first. In order to do that, you need to make your thinking also very effective. Okay, it's not just thinking but effective thinking, because much of life's crucial decisions depend on effective thinking. Often thinking is muddled for lack of sufficient information or for want of a fresh mind. So either you do not get sufficient information to coherently think on something and then come out with a plausible answer, or for want of a fresh mind, in the sense your mind has already become exhausted, so it's lacking energy to think. What can you do? Try following for the effective thinking. Some suggestions I am giving. First, collect all relevant facts and share it with your friends, well wishers, and seek relevant comments, especially in a very critical situation, or when you are in a dilemma as to choose this or that. So you seek inputs from others and suggestions from trusted sources. But do not take any decision in great hurry, especially if you can wait. So wait, don't just quickly give any response if you are in confusion, and let the facts, the comments, the suggestions sink in your mind as well as go to your memory. And if something started in the morning, let it sink and then take a good sleep, sleep well, and then let these suggestions and other things work in your subconscious mind and think afresh in the morning. In fact, when you get up in the morning, like a flash, you may get some good suggestions which you didn't get before when the brain was feeling exhausted. Now, even if you don't get it, the other option is choose open space for a thoughtful walk. So you can go to your garden, you can walk near seashore if it is possible, or some natural surrounding. So just go where you are not crowded by people or a lot of artificiality. Be with the nature, and then you will get the suggestions which you would not get if you just sit in crammed spaces and then surrounded by people. So you may not get that. So try that, thinking afresh, and try to get that out of the box thinking by just going out. And at the same time, try to listen to your instinct and allow gut feelings to prompt right action. After feeding all these things, instead of just getting confused or feeling compelled by some external things, even by advertisements or even by somebody's strong pushing, so do not make a wrong decision. But if you listen to your instinct and then if you allow your gut feelings to prompt the right action, it will. The other interesting thing is, most of the times when we are confused and asking people, so whether it is a management expert or a well-wisher or a psychiatrist or a consultant or even an astrologer, when you go and ask, is it right thing, is it the right time, can I do this or not, is it good for my friend, is it good for my son or daughter, when you ask all these things, most of the times you ask rhetorical questions. So what are rhetorical questions? Rhetorical questions are questions which have answers inbuilt in them. The answers are there already. So when you ask these questions, so the people at the other end, they understand your mindset, they know that okay, you want to do this at this time and you want somebody to say that. So when you ask the questions, you will put all these things before others and the other person can easily grasp, especially somebody like an astrologer or a very good consultant. Okay, they will be able to tell immediately, oh, this is the thing you should be doing. Okay. Sometimes they are actually supporting your prejudice, sometimes they are actually trying to make you come out with a clear understanding of what you want. As it is said that when you toss a coin, and then before it falls down, and whether you have to decide between head or tail, but the heart already waits for something. If it is head, you have already decided it should be the one, and then where is it the heart pining for, where it is inclined towards. So that tells you what you are really interested in. So just like the tossing, you are actually tossing your ideas before people and then seeking their responses for the correct direction. But however, I just want to tell you that most of the times we ask these rhetorical questions, but if we can put that to ourselves and then let it sink and then let our instinct work on it, we don't even have to ask anybody and we'll be able to get the right decision for ourselves. So that can be done through effective thinking. So that is what I wanted to tell you in terms of effective thinking. Now, the next important thing in terms of using your mind is trying to link that with your memory, because mind and memory go hand in hand, and a very well organized mind is clearly backed up by excellent memory. So when you praise somebody for organizing things so effectively in the mind, you only give credit to the person's memory to keep things in order, retrieve things in whatever order that is required, and then restore. Okay, and then this ability to use the short term memory as well as the long term memory to synchronize between these two. So that is done using a very good coordination between well organized mind and excellent memory. Human mind and memory work through association of ideas. Now this is very important. You need to associate ideas, you need to group them, you need to link them, you need to cluster them. While most of the associations are made at subconscious level, to make associations work at a conscious level, the memory needs to be trained. Here, since our course aim is not to train you get super memory, I will be only giving you tips, but if you can read, experience some of the suggestions given in books like Harry Lorraine in his Secrets of Mind Power, and I am giving you one more book at the end for further reference. If you can use these simple books, particularly Lorraine's Secrets of Mind Power illustrates how totally unconnected objects can be connected together by association, which can be remembered and recalled without any difficulty. As a demo, for a demonstration, he gives 12 words, okay, and they are actually not connected. The words he uses are book, flower, cigarette, eyeglasses, shoe, suitcase, car, clock, baseball, pen, necktie, ship. Now, although they are completely unrelated, there is an exercise in the book where he gives you ample suggestions as how you can link one with the other and remember all of them, and in whichever order you want to remember without missing any of them. So, one or two tips I want to discuss here. So, to remember them in any order, first he suggests that these words need to be tied up in pairs. That is, you need to link, for example, book with flower, cigarette with eyeglasses, shoe and suitcase, and they must be tied up in an illogical and ridiculous manner. So, that is the best part. So, you have to link them in a very illogical and ridiculous manner. Why should it be linked in an illogical and ridiculous manner? Because when everything is logically connected, it becomes monotonous and mind will not remember. And if it is normal, it will not remember. So, as they say, normal is boring for the mind also. It will remember illogical, funny, ridiculous, abnormal things. Take for example, you are walking, let us say, each day by crossing one path, and then nothing happens in that path. Now, one day while crossing, So somebody poured water from the top, and then you were shocked, and later you came to know it was holy, so somebody poured color water on you. But that shocking moment, and then they made a fool of you and people laughed, and then you also laughed later, you also started playing with them. But that moment you will easily recapture than the, let us say, hundreds of times you have walked through the same path without any such illogical thing happening in your life. So any funny things, anything unusual that happens will be remembered, captured in the mind. In case of the examples that he gave, for examples, he used about 12. Let's look at one or two. Book and flower. You should remember a flower, reading a book, or you should remember books growing in a garden instead of flowers. Rather, you should visualize, you should think of them in your mind, and it's important that you should close your eyes, and then in the mind you should recollect that okay, this flower is reading a book. So you imagine a big flower and keeping that book in the hand and the flower reading it. Now once you visualize and keep in the mind, so you remember both of them. Then you see the flower reading the book, smoking a cigarette. So don't go for the logic, how can this flower smoke a cigarette? No, you just need to link this with the next word. And once you visualize and remember that, go to the next word and then link that with cigarette. So the cigarette now wears eyeglasses. Again, don't think what is the logic, just make it funny and as funny as possible. And then you keep on adding the other words and then form a chain. And each chain is connected with one funny thought, one funny image with the other. And then train your memory to recollect the chain, it will do it with less effort. The other techniques like Lorraine and others suggest in terms of remembering numbers or linking numbers with images, it's like you can say slightly the other way around, or pictures which resemble the number. So let's take a quick example. For example, if you have to remember 1, so you have to remember objects which look like 1. For example, an umbrella or a cigarette or a chalk piece or pen, pencil. So anything that you will be able to recollect 1. 2, you may remember 2 in terms of your eyes, or 2 leaves, or anything that will bring your mind 2 quickly. And you don't have to look at the examples which I am giving. So in terms of 3, you can remember a coconut with 3 eyes, or Lord Shiva with 3 eyes, or anything that will bring to your mind 3. For 4, chair because it has 4 legs, car, 4 wheels. So anything that you can recollect with 4. For 5, for example, 5 star. So you need to remember the number or order by first linking it with the objects. So you can go up to 100 if you wish, but at least up to 20 if you make linking objects with the numbers, then you will be able to remember a number. Suppose they say that we need 12, okay, or on 12th the date. So you always forget dates, they say that it's on the 12th. So how do you remember this 12? So you can remember, for example, a pencil in the middle of your eyes, or somebody has put the pencil. So pencil 1 and eyes 2, 12. So once you visualize this image and recollect the image, 12 will come to your mind. Let's say they say we are ordering for 51 this time. So to remember that number, so you can 5 already we thought it will be 5 star. So if you think like 1, for example, we associated with cigarette. So a 5 star smoking, or a 5 star just holding an umbrella. Okay, just even you make that like a cartoon or like a clip art, and you imagine this 5 star funnily holding an umbrella. and then you will be able to remember that 5 for this star and then umbrella for 1, and you will never forget that it is 51. So, these are simple mind games that you can play by association. We will look at more interesting tips and in terms of managing your memory, improving your memory, and then make the mind function effectively, and then make it help you to develop your personality in better and happier manner. Now, before I conclude, I want to leave you thinking of two interesting quotations about freedom and learning. What is freedom? If a man does only what is required of him, he is a slave. So, the job says you need to work 9 to 5, you will work from 9 to 5 exactly, or some of you finish the job by 4:30. You will work only what is required. Anything, you have to read only this syllabus for the exam, you will read only that much. According to A.W. Robertson, you are a slave if you do only what is required of you, because you are always bound by what is given to you, what is restricted by somebody from outside. So, you will remain a slave. The moment he does more, he is a free man. The moment you come out of that, come out of the syllabus, do something extra, come out of that time that has been imposed on you, do something extra, keep something in advance, you are free. Nobody can restrict, nobody can control you. So, freedom is not by doing less, not by restricting, confining you to what is less expected from you, but freedom is gained by learning more, seeking more, and then exceeding in terms of what is actually required from you. The second quote is in a sense related, that is in terms of learning. So, to free yourself, you need to learn constantly, and this is from Knight Dunlap. He says, it is no great exaggeration to say that living is for the most part learning. He says that I am not exaggerating, living for the most part it means only learning, and that the remainder of life is merely the carrying on in practice what has previously been learned. So, the remainder of life is merely the carrying on in practice what has previously been learned. So, whatever is remaining in the life is based on what you have learned before. We begin to learn as soon as we begin to live. So, living and learning is a kind of process that happens, goes together. Very probably the learning process commences sometime before birth. It does not appear probable that we cease to learn until we are in the actual clutches of death. When do we stop learning? Only when death has come to us. So, till death you keep learning, you keep improving, you keep developing yourself. So, it is the fixed mindset that thinks that learning is completed when you have completed whatever is given in the syllabus, and when you have completed and got a certificate, but active learning begins after that, along with that, and it never stops there. So, with that thing, wishing that you will keep learning forever and learning as long as you live, try to refer to these two books, one by David Thomas on improving your memory, the other one is by Harry Lorraine, which I mentioned already while discussing with you. It is on secrets of mind power. These two books can really work wonders for you in terms of improving your memory as well as using your mind as a very powerful tool in shaping your personality. So, with this I take leave from you, wishing you all the best. Thank you so much for watching this video. Have a very nice day.